Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're on a mission to completely decode a topic that honestly causes endless confusion in the nutrition world: the real metabolic impact of fruit. Seriously, if you've ever stood in the middle of the produce aisle, staring at the apples and wondering what you can actually eat on a strict carb-restricted diet, you are absolutely in the right place. By the end of this Explainer, I promise you're going to walk away with a definitive, scientifically grounded tier list of exactly which fruits to prioritize, which to carefully limit, and which to avoid entirely. Let's get into it. So here's the central paradox we're tackling today. We've all grown up with traditional dietary paradigms telling us that all fruit is inherently healthy, right? I mean, it's packed with vitamins and antioxidants. But if you're trying to maintain a strict low-carbohydrate metabolic state, the really high concentration of simple sugars in so many common fruits clashes directly with your goals. So we have to ask, is fruit nature's candy or is it a keto killer? Well, as you'll see, the answer is actually a fascinating mix of both. But before we even look at the data, we really need to instantly reframe our perspective. Domesticated fruits, the ones we buy today, are almost always much larger, significantly sweeter, and contain way less fiber than their ancient wild counterparts. Basically, we're trying to navigate an artificial nutritional landscape that our ancestors wouldn't even recognize. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit the low-carb fruit dilemma, dive into the science of sugar, then build our lists: top-tier fatty fruits, the berry and melon paradox, and the high-sugar fruits to avoid. And finally, we'll wrap up by actually building your low-carb plate. Starting right off with Section 1, the low-carb fruit dilemma. Let's establish the baseline rules of the game here. We all know nutritional ketosis is that highly specific metabolic state where your body shifts its primary fuel source away from glucose and over to fatty acids and ketone bodies. And to pull this off, your daily net carbohydrate budget has to be incredibly strict. We're talking typically limited to just 20 to 50 grams per day. That's not a lot, meaning literally every single piece of fruit you eat takes a very real bite out of that tiny daily allowance. Which brings us to Section 2, the science of sugar. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the totally divergent metabolic pathways of these two simple sugars. Look, when you consume glucose, it enters your systemic circulation and immediately triggers an insulin response. And elevated insulin actually inhibits hormone-sensitive lipase, effectively slamming the brakes on your body's mobilization of fat. Now, fructose, on the other hand, is processed directly by the liver. And while it doesn't spike your blood sugar quite the same way as glucose, excessive fructose replenishes your hepatic glycogen stores. In a state of carbohydrate restriction, depleted liver glycogen is the exact signal your body uses to produce ketones. So fructose basically acts as a massive metabolic brake on your ketone production. But hold on, because fruit isn't just a bag of sugar, it contains a secret weapon. Up to 30% of the sugar from fruit might actually go completely unabsorbed by your body. Wait, no way, right? Why? Because the soluble fiber found in fruit reacts with water in your gut to form this thick protective gel. This gel slows down gastric emptying and physically delays sugar absorption. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is that fiber is your metabolic best friend. Fiber literally dictates the glycemic impact. All right, let's get to the good stuff. Section 3, top-tier fatty fruits. The avocado is, hands down, our ultimate S-tier champion. I mean, just look at this. In a standard 100-gram serving, you're getting a massive 15.4 grams of total fat, primarily that amazing heart-healthy monounsaturated oleic acid, and 7 full grams of dietary fiber. Now, compare all of that to its tiny, almost non-existent net carb footprint of just 1.8 grams. It provides high-density energy, vital electrolytes like potassium, and a ton of fiber, all without threatening your state of ketosis. It is an absolute metabolic powerhouse. Rounding out our S tier are olives and coconut meat. Olives are essentially a lipid storage fruit. They're incredibly rich in oleocanthal, which actually actively inhibits inflammatory enzymes in your body. And coconut meat, while technically a drupe, not a true fruit, is uniquely valued because it is completely packed with medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs. These are amazing because they bypass normal digestion, heading straight to the portal vein and into your liver for immediate conversion into ketone bodies. These are the kinds of fruits that actively support a systemic low-carb lifestyle. Moving right along to Section 4, the berry and melon paradox. So berries are widely known as nature's keto candy, right? But we really have to be precise here. Blackberries and strawberries have an absolutely exceptional fiber-to-sugar ratio, giving them incredibly low net carbs, usually around 4 to 5 grams per serving. They're roughly equal parts glucose and fructose with almost zero sucrose. But Here is the plot twist, the blueberry. They're constantly praised for their antioxidants, but guys, blueberries pack a whopping 10 grams of total sugars and up to 12 grams of net carbs per serving. A single cup of blueberries could literally exhaust over half of your strict 20-gram carb allowance for the entire day. They are a sometimes treat, definitely not a daily staple. Next up, we have to decode the melon paradox. Melons taste incredibly sweet, so low-carb dieters usually run the other way. However, watermelon is over 90% water. This massive water volume naturally dilutes its carbohydrate concentration, acting as a sort of built-in metabolic buffer. You only get about 7 grams of net carbs per 100-gram serving. It provides a high-volume eating experience, meaning great psychological satiety without delivering a massive systemic insulin spike. Pretty cool, right? Okay, time to enter the danger zone. Section 5, high sugar fruits to avoid. Brace yourselves for this one. A standard banana hits you with 21 grams of net carbs, all thanks to its high starch and sugar content. Grapes? They offer almost negligible fiber, but come packed with 16 grams of almost entirely simple sugars. And then there are raisins, 65 grams of net carbs per 100 grams. That's insane. A single serving of any of these is going to completely obliterate your strict daily carbohydrate allowance in a matter of minutes. Just a total keto wrecker. To really, truly emphasize the extreme metabolic danger of dried fruits, just consider this stat. A single cup of chopped dates contains approximately 93 grams of sugar. 93. The dehydration process completely strips away the water volume, leaving behind nothing but a glycemic bomb with a massive glycemic load. Make no mistake, dried fruits are essentially a form of concentrated candy. And if you're low carb, they must be strictly avoided. Let's bring this all together. Section 6, building your low-carb plate. So the secret here is that you can actually artificially slow digestion and blunt the insulin response of your chosen fruits by using a few specific step-by-step tactics. We call this glycemic blunting. Step 1, never eat sweet fruit naked. Actually, let me rephrase that. Always pair your fruit with fat or protein, like some heavy cream or a slice of cheese, to slow down that sugar absorption. Step 2, consume a high-fiber salad or maybe a little apple cider vinegar before your fruit. This improves your insulin sensitivity. Step 3, try to choose slightly underripe fruit because the starches haven't fully converted to sugar yet. And step 4, absolutely avoid all fruit juices and smoothies. The blending process mechanically destroys the insoluble fiber, rocketing the glycemic impact through the roof. So we've explored the deep biochemistry of fruit today, from the fat-rich S-tier avocados all the way to the hidden, sugary dangers of modern dried fruits. We've clearly seen that not all sugars, and for sure not all fruits, are created equal in a carbohydrate-restricted framework. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. The next time you're standing there in the produce aisle, will you just settle for nature's modern, hyper-sweetened candy? Or will you use the glycemic matrix we just decoded together to truly hack your metabolic health? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.